Which sutta do you have?
So we were thinking of talking about Majjhima Nikaya 62, which is the Rahula Sutta. So one of the ones where the Buddha talks to his son, gives his son some instruction. So it's just like a short bit. Rahula. It sounds a bit strange. Rahula, development similar to earth.
What's the part?
It's bhavanam, so bhavana, which is development, and bhavehi, development.
Right. Not like develop that which can be developed.
Literally, no. It's
develop the development of earth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Develop the development like earth.
Like earth. Yeah. Okay.
Similar to earth. So whatever development you're doing, develop it like earth. Rahula, developing development similar to earth, like earth, arisen pressures that are pleasing or displeasing will not keep obsessing the mind. Rahula, just as onto earth they throw clean things, they throw dirty things, they throw excrement, they throw urine, they throw spit, they throw pus, they throw blood, and the earth is not troubled or worried or disgusted by this. In just this way, Rahula, development similar to earth. Rahula, developing development similar to earth, arisen pressures that are pleasing or displeasing, or contacts that are pleasing or displeasing. Pressures, yeah. That are pleasing or displeasing will not keep obsessing the mind.
So I think we can just talk about that one, because it's the same principle for all the other developments. Yep. So how would you start? What do you think? Say, develop the development that is like earth. So establish your mind on characteristics of earth. What comes to mind when you hear that?
I guess solidity, dirt, the floor I'm sitting on.
So the solid aspects, in a way, immovable. Like you can sort of move in terms of a particular representation of solidity, but it's in its core characteristics is that characteristic is that it's solid. So what's the problem then? Why don't people can't just think the solid earth and become established mindfulness upon that? Establish their mind on a lofty state. Why is it so hard to do that?
Because people don't have the right understanding of what earth is.
So what would then be that understanding? What would that understanding be?
They would conceive earth.
And what is it that always results in conceiving? What is the necessary basis for conceiving? Which is why people, when they think about earth, they can't establish their mind because they are basically conceiving it.
I want to say sort of taking things in the wrong order. So like not seeing that their perceptions of earth depend on earth.
Yeah, exactly. So the only reason people can't establish their mind upon earth or upon water or upon fire is because they put themselves first. Yeah. That's it. So practically speaking, here you are thinking about earth, and you might be clarifying the characteristics of earth and being very clear on this, and even like that's like visualizations. That's why they're complete nonsense when it comes to meditative practice. It's I am visualizing this, and somehow the content of your visualization will make your mind established. No, the right order can only make your mind established. So the right order being
that
earth and my perception of earth and my thoughts of the perception of earth. I am second to that. It's not the result of me thinking it. I can only think it because I'm already within it.
So funnily enough, you're just saying visualizations, in themselves, visualizations may not be wrong, as long as you understand.
Well, visualizations in themselves are just thoughts.
That's what I mean, yeah. So that visualization is there dependent on.
Oh yeah, of course. But see, practice of visualization
Yes.
is something you are doing. I am visualizing
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
I'm imagining this.
And then placing that first.
And you're placing yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always place yourself first, and that's why the mind will not be established.
Yeah.
So that's why you should be, as in that which is you, so to speak,
Yeah.
be like earth.
Uh-huh.
And the only way that you can be like earth is to discern earth in you.
Yeah.
To discern earth as a necessary container for you.
Yeah.
So to discern that presence of that solid aspect, watery aspect, fiery aspect, airy aspect, doesn't matter. Of discern that phenomenon as you are within it.
Yeah.
So that's how you start partaking in earth
Mm-hmm.
correctly, in that sense. And then yes, so now you are partaking in earth, and look, earth doesn't care what rubbish is thrown onto it. You don't care what words are thrown at you.
Yeah.
Like you cannot care. Even if your mind wants to care, it cannot step outside of the correctly established context of earth is first. And then any care that you have about what's said or what you got or what you didn't get is within that context, which means it's no care at all. So that's all to it, really.
Yeah.
But it is. It's actually just comes down to establishing the context. See, you can't, oh, this is the context. No.
Yeah.
This is what you're attending, and now there is a context to that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to discern, earth, water, fire, air, or any other kasina,
Mm.
or any other practice of establishment of mind, be it jhanas or Brahma viharas. It's always the same principle.
So we're saying establish yourself on earth. It's the characteristics of earth. You're not thinking dirt, rocks.
Exactly, yeah. You are still
mountains.
maintaining the order
Yeah.
that you are first. It's implicit, even if you don't necessarily think. But you are conceiving this. Oh, this is earth, this is earth, this is earth. So you want to discern the characteristics of earth, that kind of solid, indifferent, immovable. And then that thought is a valid thought. That visualization is a valid visualization. There's no problem with it. But the problem is if you maintain the wrong order on account of it, or you correct the wrong order. So once you establish your thoughts, which are in the beginning abstract thoughts of earth, that's fine. Now allow those abstract thoughts to endure, and you see yourself within them, not their product of you. That's the whole point. And then they cease to be abstract. Because a thought is abstract, not because of its content, but it's because it abstracts you from what's actually present for you. But
So-
now it is present for you, so it's not abstract anymore.
So most people just make the obvious thing to do, the normal thing, the natural thing to do is to have a thought about Earth and then not go any further than that and just take that for granted, take that at face value.
That's
That
what
thought-
Earth is.
That's what Earth. That thought I have of Earth, that's Earth. But that's just a perception.
So that thought that I have of Earth is the only Earth I know.
Yeah.
That's your starting point. But now within that thought of Earth, your sense of I am, your sense of self, you want to see dependent on that thought of Earth. As in that thought of Earth is close to what Earth is and not close to what you are thinking in terms of my thought. So that's when your own thought are seen correctly representing the state of things that you are affected by, you are within it. That's why it says that whatever pressure is then felt on account of whatever is within, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, it won't be pressuring you because you have basically abandoned the whole picture through maintaining the context that is indifferent, unownable. You can't own the element of Earth, it's inconceivable. And now the mind starts to establish that, seeing its own sense of ownership, its own sense of self, its own like little world, fully dependent within this thought that represents Earth. This thought of Earth is actually more fundamental than anything I do within it. So all you need to do is maintain the context of that thought. And you are basically practicing establishing upon yourself, establishing your mind upon the perception of Earth.
But that thought of Earth as something which my thoughts depend on. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it's your experience. It's like the there is no more than. I mean, if you keep thinking about what Earth is,
Yeah.
you're going to be thinking thought over thought over
Yeah,
thought. But
right,
it
right.
doesn't matter what Earth is. It's whatever thought represents the Earth. It's what Earth
That's
is
what
for
Earth
me.
is for me, yeah.
And that's how it
that will-
ceases to be abstract.
But that will become closer and closer to.
It'll be more and more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It won't be accurate in the beginning, but the principle will be accurate.
Yeah.
So then you get to refine that which is sort of exemplified by that principle. So that's why dwelling on the properties of Earth. Oh, it doesn't care if the rubbish is thrown, it doesn't care if it's dug or destroyed. Earth remains there. that solid aspect remains unchanged, so to speak. Even the change is within it. So the change cannot really change the solidity of it. It can only change the form of that solidity, which means solidity remains unchanged, enduring. So you realize, can you have your body without the solid material aspect present? Is it conceivable for you to experience your feelings, perceptions, thoughts, moods without this solid body being here? It's inconceivable. And that solid body is closer to the stone, to the tree, to the dog, to the bag, to the stick, than it is to anything you think you are. Now, you can't stop thinking that you are this or that, but you can certainly stop entertaining the wrong order on account of it. So that's all these contexts are useful only if you then put yourself in the right place against it, so to speak. Not in itself just going through the motions of visualizations and somehow work will be magically done for you.
All my thoughts, worries, fears, whatever I notice is present, that's dependent on.
Simultaneously to that presence, there is this solid aspect of the body present, which is like the stone, like the branch, like the tree.
And that kind of diffuses the emotional aspect.
Yeah. So the emotional pressure remains, but you are not within it anymore.
Yeah.
So it doesn't pressure you, which means it's not really pressure anymore.
So the pressures will not keep obsessing the mind.
Exactly.
Whether they're pleasing or displeasing.
Exactly. So the pressure, pleasing, displeasing is there, but it cannot obsess the mind.
I think this is often used as a kind of. I think people would often use this as a teaching for like equanimity, like
as an inspirational kind of reflection, poetic almost.
Be like
a wolf.
Earth is the ultimate of equanimity, so I will be like that.
Yeah, I will emulate that. But the only way to truly emulate that without misconceiving it is to put yourself against it as second, as dependent upon it, not as that which is responsible for its origination. Second to it. Simultaneously there, but second to it.
Yeah.
Reflecting on that solidity, that solid aspect, you could just do it on the body.
Yeah,
and the body
exactly.
Is just
You
being
find the solid aspect there.
Mm-hmm.
You have solid aspect all over you. So you start internally or find it externally, it doesn't matter. The point is not to go further and get the right solid aspect. The point is to start seeing the right order, the right context of your situation based on that solid aspect. So, again, if I ask you, do you have the body of a certain form? You don't need to stop and think about it. You already know. Yes, of course. So, allow that thought to endure peripherally while you then see yourself wanting this, not wanting that, thinking this, thinking that, wanting to do this, and so on. Within the context of that necessary solid lump that needs to be present there in order for you to want anything.
Seeing that body, that solid aspect comes first.
Yes.
Before my moods, before my
comes
feelings.
first in the sense of it's there as a container of everything you can think, including the solid aspect. So you can't step outside of it, inasmuch you cannot step outside of your body and your senses.
Like you can have the solid aspect can be there even if you're not thinking about it, but the thought of solid aspect is inconceivable without the solid aspect being there. So therefore the solid aspect comes first. That's like
and I would stick to the solid aspect. Then if you get the sense of that, then you can refine it to the water sort of fluid aspect or the heat aspect, but they're a bit more refined. And you wouldn't find them left or right from the solid. You find it within the solid. It's not like this 1, 2, 3, 4 I have to meet. No, you meet one, you met them all.
The space one's a bit different.
Yeah, but again, it's even more refined. And then the utmost refined one is the consciousness. That's in the suttas about casinos.
Yeah, that's not
starts with the elements, start with perception, then the space, and then the consciousness is the most refined one. But again, it's always the same principle. So it's just, if you have the capacity to maintain this level of context establishment and discernment to the point of your consciousness and infinite space, yeah, that's absolutely great. But the problem is, people already misconceive the starting point. So talking about everything else is just going to be like information about everything which will quite often result in, okay, that's what this is, that's what this is, that's what this is, and you haven't established anything.
Yes.
There's no right context established at all. You're just having it all on the like abstract layout, and making sense of it over there.
So all of these aspects, or all of these, I guess, consciousness, space, fire, water, they all share those same characteristics of just that imperturbability.
Well, they're not on the same plane.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like these all things share these characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
For you, the first thing, the first framework, the first container is the solid.
Mm-hmm.
Within the solid, you get to discern fluid. Within the solid, within the fluid, you get to discern airy, and then within that, you get to discern fiery. Not left or right, or before or after it. So that's what I mean. You want to resist the temptation to go into the abstractly figuring them all out, making sense of it, and actually focus on, okay, no, I'll just be patient, I'll put these other three aside, in the same sense with the jhanas, and develop the first. Establish your mind upon the context of solidity that endures as a necessary basis for any experience that is currently occurring to you. So you don't know, I must stop this experience. No, I must see beyond it. I must see what is a necessary basis so that I can finally have space to not own this anymore. But you can't own it as an act of will. Oh, this is not mine. Well, that is yours. Your denial of ownership is what you own. But if you see that whether you, oh, this is mine, this is not mine, it's all undermining something that's inconceivable. It's inconceivable to be yours. You cannot possibly conceive a container of earth that you can step outside of it and own it. You can't even fantasize about it. And when that becomes clear, any sense of ownership maintained within the dependence of that context will have to fade. It will not be the ownership in the sense of I am the real genuine owner. It's like the sutta says, borrowed jewelry. When you borrow the gold and jewelry and then you forget that you borrowed it. And you're enjoying the pleasures you get on account of it, admiration you get on account of it, value you get on account of it. And then, the real owner comes and takes it away. And because you completely lost perception that you never owned it. It was only borrowed. So you don't suffer because you borrowed it or because you lost it. You suffer because you thought you owned it. If you never forgot that it will have to be taken away, you will not be surprised when it's taken away, which means you can't suffer when it's taken away. So that's the whole point. You want to undermine this gratuitous sense of ownership of your own body, of your own life, by seeing that it's owned by something much greater that you cannot even conceive owning. And that's how you will remove any dependence on that body and that life. So you can still use it like you would the borrowed things, but that would not lead you to assume that you are the owner, master, controller, creator of those things.
I mean, that's kind of not optional, is it? That's part of the nature of having this body.
Which one? Then you have to use it.
To use it.
Yeah, that's why it automatically results in the view of Attavada and the ownership.
Yeah.
You don't need to no, I need to develop the wrong view. No, automatically there is no beginning where the wrong view was not manifested beforehand. But it shouldn't be there because you were never the owner. You could have never owned it. But you don't know that because of not knowing that. That's why you own it. And that's why you then get affected when those things do not obey your mastery, your ownership, your will. When they don't go the way you want them to be. But unless you find out the way to uproot the ownership, you can't. That's why it doesn't matter the amount of misfortune you might experience in life, the amount of loss. You're still never going to abandon Attavada on account of it. Because you don't know. You don't know how. You don't know what to see. Because all you see is me and everything else. That's all Arahant sees as well. But the difference is Arahant puts everything else as a necessary container for me, which has now resulted in complete removal of ownership. Putujana doesn't put everything else as a direct, necessary condition for me. He puts it the other way around. He puts himself first. And that's it. You can't change neither my point of view nor the world, but you can certainly change what is being prioritized. That's what the sense restraint and the Buddha would constantly kind of keep reiterating, that you must not give in to desire and lust, because it's through that kind of engagement with the world you maintain the wrong order. By removing the desire and lust, by not acting out of it, you're at least not perpetuating the wrong order, and then you get to understand it. And when you do, then there is no more desire and lust even to arise.